Hello everyone, it has been a moment since we were on our channel. Now I'm back following the trend on the discussion on CBC, and I'd like to discuss briefly on the overview of competence-based curriculum and the basic education curriculum framework. So I believe that by the end of my sharing, you'll be able to decide whether you still want CBC or we retain the 844. Now, we have the rationale for curriculum reforms, and we want to look at the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Article 53 1B states that every child has a right to free and compulsory basic education. Article 10 of the Constitution articulates the national values and principles of governance. Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. And still in the Constitution, there is promotion of Kiswahili as a national language and official language, and also English. Besides that, it encourages the teaching and learning of the Kenya Sign Language and Braille, development and promotion of the use of the indigenous languages, and the emphasis on communication formats and technologies accessible to persons with disabilities. When we look at the Kenya Vision 2030, it discusses on the integration of early childhood into primary education, reforming the secondary curricula, modernizing teacher training, and also developing programs for learners with special needs, among others. Another rationale that I want us to look at is the task force report that was chaired by Professor Odhiambo in the year 2012. In that report, there were recommendations that were made, and one was major curriculum reform to align it with the Constitution 2010 and to address the dictates of the Vision 2030. Also, it addressed the inclusion of the community service programs in the school curriculum. Let us also look at a draft sessional paper on reforming education and training in Kenya. The recommendations in that draft paper were like reforming the education sector to provide holistic development for learners. It also recommended a competence-based curriculum whereby there would be early identification and nurturing of talents, introduction of values, and the introduction of 3 pathways at senior secondary school level. Still, there was another rationale on the summative evaluation of the 844 system of education that was conducted in the year 2009. And in that evaluation, the following were the recordings. 844 was academic and examination oriented. Teachers hardly used formative assessment. When we talk of formative assessment, then we're referring to assessment for learning. That is, assessment was limited to summative assessment of learning. Graduates at secondary school level also did not acquire adequate entrepreneurial skills for self-reliance. It did not provide a flexible education pathway for identifying and nurturing aptitudes, talents, and interests of learners early enough in order to prepare them for the world of work, career progression, and sustainable development. Still in that recording, there were gaps that were identified. There were gaps that were identified, for example, agricultural entrepreneurial, vocational and technical skills, innovation, creativity, and ICT. So from those recordings, there was a recommendation on a needs assessment survey. So the KICD Needs Assessment Survey 2016, it recommended that a curriculum reform was necessary and a wide curriculum that could cater for the various talent areas to enable the learners to achieve their potential and be better equipped to develop themselves and the nation. A functional, holistic curriculum that would produce an individual with spiritual, moral, and social aspects with the ability to live amicably with others. From also that needs assessment that was conducted by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, they recommended that there should be development and acquisition of competencies at every level of learning and a flexible and comprehensive education structure and system. There was still another group, that is the East African Community Protocol, that recommended on national goals of education, the structure for basic education, the key competencies, the learning areas and subjects, learning outcomes for early childhood development, primary and secondary schools, and the guidelines on assessment. For the global standards, they recommended a curriculum review for every 5 years. Also on the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, that was ensuring quality education, and the 21st learning skills and approaches. Now we are in the 21st century, whereby learners have become digital, as we say, and their expectations of a 21st century learner, the learner is supposed to be globally aware, self-directed. That learner should be a communicator, an innovator. He or she should also be financially and economically literate, should be a collaborator, a critical thinker, and still be civically engaged, and also have information and media literacy.